November 27, 11:30. So the parts from Lazada arrived. The 30 ohm and the 8, 10, 20 transistor arrived. So I am going to install them here, remove the old ones and install the new ones. Okay, the 30 ohms are installed, and when you get to that age where you can't see the components, it's really hard to install. So it took me a while. I've also replaced the 8, 10, 20. So all of these components are replaced. The NPN, PNP, and all of the resistors are replaced. The damaged ones, whether they're good or bad, they really need to be replaced because really you don't really know whether they actually are good. So you might as well automatically replace them. No point in reworking that circuit board, especially once you have to take it apart. I've added thermal paste to the back of the component. That would help speed up the heat transfer to the heatsink. So I installed all of the MOSFETs and I turned it on, and it blew the fuse. So it means that this thing has additional problem. So I took out the transformer, and the desoldering this component is really tough. You really have to have the iron set at max, to the point where the iron tip is turning blue due to heat, overheating. So I overheated the iron tip, because if you don't, this thing would be hard to desolder. So I did that. I mean, when you do that with soldering iron where you overheat them, they don't last long. And when removing this component, it removed this plating through, or plate through, copper. So as a consequence, it sort of reduces the contact to the circuit board. Oh well, that's how it is. So really, to do this, you really have to have yeah, well, you gotta have the proper tool. I mean, you just don't do it for the fun of it. I did it because it's not working. So what are you gonna do? Learn something from it, or it's going to be it's gonna be bricked. It's just basically a doorstop. So anyway, I'm now going to power it up and then see the signal happening. I need to add a pull up or a pull down, whatever, because without this bridging the 24 volts, then it's kind of hard to diagnose the circuit board fault mode. So I powered it up and checked the gate. So both sides are driven high with 5 volts. So I'm not sure why. Well, I'm kind of sure. With both sides turning on, it's gonna draw a lot of current. It's not pulsating. So I don't understand why it's not. So I'm just gonna look into the reason why. It's possible that this component is no longer working properly. It's a buffer. It buffers, well, it's a driver for these transistors, so they should be acting like buffers. However, it's there. Because both sides are on. Most likely that this is damaged. What I'm going to do is remove this component and then see how these two sides behave. So when I took out this component, the gate voltage dropped to 0. So I suspect this thing was fried. Basically, I think these failed, and so they impacted the output of the this MOSFET driver. I won't know for sure until I buy a replacement for this component. Then I'll see. December 14, the MOSFET driver TC4427 arrived a few days ago. So I'm going to install it into the circuit board. 10 pieces, and it cost 571 for 10 pieces. So divide that by 10. So let's just call it 60 pesos. So it's $1.50 per component, dollars, around there. So this is, I think, microchip. So I'm just gonna check if it is microchip. So it's from microchip. When I was checking out other components like these, there are other components. I don't know these other suppliers or maker of chips. However, I'm familiar with microchips since I used them quite a bit in the past. So now I'm just gonna solder this component into the circuit board, onto the mic. Soldering so one has to use these tips since I want to solder the individual pin onto the into those pads. Having a thicker tip, it would be difficult, prone to bridging. So I'm gonna use this first, and then if it doesn't work, I'll use a different type of tips. Okay, I've soldered it. It's been a while that I soldered Suwick. So this, in the past, there would have been 5-minute works. Now it took me 15 minutes, 3 times the time to do these things. So yeah, age does these things in practice. So I haven't practiced for 7 years. So now everything I do with components, it takes me 3 times the amount of time to do things. Okay, when I replaced the TC4427, I checked the gates, and it seems like they're doing what they're doing. It appears that they're pulsating. However, because I don't know for sure, I'm going to use a scope to scope out the MOSFETs, gate driver. To turn on the circuit board, I use a jumper, and just jumper this 2 pins. Okay. So, as one can see, it's pulsating. Let's see what the frequency is. Let's see, down. Okay, so this is how the MOSFETs are driven. So it looked like, in summary, I replaced all of the damaged surface mount resistor, replace these NPN PNP components, and then replace the SOEC. Now it's working. So in theory, this inverter is fixed, but I don't know yet until I installed the transformer back. So far so good. So after replacing all of the component on this side, and I put it together using this battery, I turn it on, and once it energized the output voltage, it blew the fuse. So it means that this side has a problem, and Quite frankly, I'm losing my interest in having it have this thing fixed, because now I have to disassemble this, look for the problem. Probably several MOSFET is no good anymore, so I'm debating whether I have the interest to have this, to fix this thing. So I think I'll leave it alone until I gain my interest in fixing this thing. So MOSFETs and other components are replaced. I checked the output waveform and it looked to be normal. Now when I turn it on, when it begins to drive the output voltage, it blows the fuse on the battery. So this means this side of the driver is no good. So why is it no good? So this kind of frustrating. Well, since I have nothing to do, I've decided to tackle this circuit board. I'm going to desolder all of this because it's the easiest thing to do, I think. I mean, goodness sake, this really sucks. Wow. Let's see here, we have the bridge, some component bridge. No, that's the bridge. Anyway, I decided to tackle this thing and desolder the whole thing. Here's Minute, my cat. So I lifted the whole thing. Sadly, some pads lifted. And it happens when the solder is not taken out completely. Or enough that it doesn't adhere to the pads. So most likely I probably have to do a jumper. Anyway, sad. That took a while. It's a lot of pins. So now I'm going to check which one failed. Actually, I have to see whether I can buy them at Lazada or elsewhere. So these two components are no good. They are, what are they? 640T60M. Too dark to see. It's not a Z, it's a G. Now, because these two are damaged, so it's probably one leg of the bridge, each bridge. So it probably created a shoot through and destroyed these two components. The thing is, with these driving the I have to reverse engineer this. It's probably driving this inductor for the 220 volts output. So yeah, otherwise these are good. However, because I did this is a diode, I will have to replace the leg, because actually no, the legs is fine, bridge is fine, this too is fine. So these two are the component that failed. I don't know. I don't even know if these components are okay. Components is 4992. I have to check. 4992. Okay. Well, gotta check the all of the surface mount resistor and see what happened.